This is the video for your notes on SOL 6.9, Measurement. This covers pages 69 through 72. You'll need one pencil to complete these notes. The following are new measurements that you should have memorized, and there are other measurements that you should know from previous years of math, and there's more information in the appendix in the back of your notebook. 1 ounce is about equal to 28 grams, and these are the abbreviations. So we have 1 ounce and 28 grams, and those are really small because a nickel is about 5 grams. So think about a small nickel, and that's 5 grams, and it's not even an ounce yet, though. A kilogram is a little more than 2 pounds. So a kilogram is about equal to 2 pounds, but it's a little bit more than 2 pounds. Well, you should know that a quart is a little less than a liter, and that's the same thing as saying that a liter is a little more than a quart. So we see that 1 quart is less than 1 liter, or 1 liter is bigger than 1 quart. And those are the abbreviations. 1 inch is about 2.5 centimeters. So we're going to write that up here. The abbreviation for inch is IN, and the abbreviation for centimeters is CM. So we see that 1 inch is about 2.5 centimeters. Not exactly, but about. And 1 foot is about 30 centimeters. And you should also know that there are 12 inches in 1 foot. 1 meter is a little longer than a yard, or about 40 inches. So 1 meter is a little bit longer than a yard. And we know that a yard is 36 inches, so that's why, and a meter is about 40 inches. So a meter is about equal to 40 inches, and a yard is 36. So we see that the 40-inch long meter is a little bit longer than the 36-inch long yard. We also see that 1 mile is slightly further than 1.5 kilometers. And I like to think of a 5K that you run is about 3 miles. So you can kind of think about it that way as well. You also need to know that 1 kilometer is slightly further than half a mile. So a kilometer is about half a mile. And 1 mile is about 1.5 kilometers. But a mile is further than 1.5 kilometers, and 1 kilometer is further than half a mile. For temperature, you need to know what the freezing point of water is and what the boiling point of water, and a few things in between. So you have freezing, then we have room temperature, and then your body is warmer than room temperature, and then your body is below its boiling point. So it's pretty easy for Celsius because we have 0 degrees Celsius for freezing and go to about 20 degrees Celsius for room temperature, and you're almost counting by 20. So you go 0, 20, and almost 40, but about 37 degrees Celsius for your body temperature, and we get to 100 degrees for boiling. For freezing, we have 32 degrees Fahrenheit, and the normal room temperature is about 70 degrees Fahrenheit, and a normal temperature for your body to have is 98 degrees Fahrenheit, unless you have a fever, and the boiling point is going to be 212 degrees Fahrenheit. You should know that 1 inch is about 2.5 centimeters. So we should write that 1 inch is about 2.5 centimeters. Now, 1 inch and 1 centimeter isn't the same because they're not the same measurements. And 1 inch and 5 centimeters aren't that small. For problem B, we're looking at 1 foot. And I know that 1 foot is 12 inches. So I know that 1 inch is 2.5 centimeters, so about 2.5 centimeters. So if I just double that, then that would mean that we would have about about 24 centimeters, but a little bit more. So the best answer choice here is 30 centimeters. And we should know that 30 centimeters is about equal to 1. For distance, I always like to think about running. And if you're running a 5K, then that means 5 kilometers. And that's about 3 miles, or 3.1 miles, to be a little bit more exact. And if I want to only know what 1 mile is, I could kind of divide this side by 3 to get 1 mile. And if I divide this side by 3, 5/3, well, the 3 goes in the 5 one time with 2 left over. So it's almost like 1 2/3 kilometers, or 1.6 kilometers. And 1.5 kilometers is the closest to that estimate. So it's about 1 2/3 kilometers, or 1.5 kilometers for each mile. For problem D, I know that 1 kilogram is about 2 pounds. So if I multiply by 2 on each side, I could see that 4 pounds would be the same as 2 kilograms. 1 meter, I know that 1 meter is about the same as 1 yard. So we know it's about the same as 1 yard, so it's not the same as 3 yards. And we know that 1 yard is about equal to 3 feet. So we know that 1 meter is about 3 feet. But let's see why the 12 inches doesn't make sense. We know that the 12 inches doesn't make sense because 12 inches is just 1 foot. And that's not long enough. For F, we want to know how many milliliters is in 1 cup. Now, I know that 1 liter and 1 quart are about the same. I know that there are 1,000 milliliters in 1 liter, and I know that there are 4 cups in 1 quart. So I know that if I want 1 cup, then I would take those 4 cups and divide them into 4 groups to get 1 cup. So I know 4 cups equals 1,000 milliliters. So if I divide them both by 4, then I know that 1 cup is about 250 milliliters, and 240 milliliters is a good estimate as well. 1 quart is about 1 liter. That's one that you should just know. 1 gallon to liters. Well, I know that 1 liter is about the same amount as 1 quart. And I know for a gallon that I have 4 quarts in 1 gallon. So if I multiply that by 4, then I get a gallon on that side. If I multiply this by 4, then I see that I should have about 4 liters would be about the same as 4 quarts, which equals a gallon. So 4 liters is the best estimate. Room temperature. I know that 20 degrees Celsius is the correct amount of room temperature, but just kind of think about what we have here. We have 0 degrees Celsius is freezing point, so that's too cold for the room if water is going to freeze to ice. And 100 degrees Celsius is when water boils, and that's way, way too hot. We know 32 degrees Fahrenheit and then 212 degrees Fahrenheit. And we know that room temperature is in between there. And you kind of have a better understanding of Fahrenheit. So you know that 70 degrees Fahrenheit would be really, a good temperature. And that's a little bit closer to the 32 side. It's a little closer to the freezing point than the boiling point. And 20 degrees Celsius is about 70 degrees. And we can kind of think about that as the freezing point, 0 degrees Celsius. Then we go 20 degrees Celsius is room temperature. About 40 degrees Celsius is body temperature. And then 100 degrees Celsius is boiling. And we know that water boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's really hot. So 100 degrees Celsius is correct. 32 degrees Fahrenheit was too cold. That's freezing point. And 212 degrees Celsius, that's overboiling. Now 28 grams is actually pretty small because I know that 5 grams is a nickel. So about 5 nickels is not even close to a pound or a kilogram, which a pound and a kilogram are, not exactly the same, but closer to each other. And we should know that a weight of a nickel is just 5 grams. 1 pound is way too big, and 1 gram is way too small. Now, I want you to try to fill this out on your own. You know that 1 inch is about 2.5 centimeters, so you could put that there. Try to fill these out on your own and check your answers on the back. A quart of milk is closest to a what? So I know that a quart of milk is actually equal to 4 cups. So I know that that is equal. So a cup of milk doesn't make sense. A milliliter, we know that we have 1,000 milliliters in 1 liter. So that's really, really tiny. And a gallon of milk, we should know that a gallon of milk is equal to 4 quarts. So we have that 4 quarts is equal to 1 gallon. That's not close. We should know that 1 liter of milk is the closest. It's about equal to 1 quart. So we should kind of use that logic to see that answer choice C is correct. A baseball bat weighs about 2 pounds. Approximately how much is that in metric measure? So we know that 1 kilogram is about 2 pounds. So I know that in 1 kilogram, we have that kilo means 1,000. So there's 1,000 grams in 1 kilogram. And that means that if 1 kilogram can be replaced with 1,000 grams, that 1,000 grams is about equal to 2 pounds because 1 kilogram was. So we want to know approximately. I don't see the answer of 1,000, but 9,099, like those are all way too big. 900 is really close to 1,000 grams, and answer choice C would be the best answer. The bicycle path at the city park is 1 mile long. Which of the following is the closest to that distance? Well, if I look at 1 mile, I should know that 1 mile is about equal to 1.5 kilometers. If I look at this, millimeters are really, really tiny. And miles, like that's what you measure your roads in. Meters, 1.5 meters, that's like a yardstick. So 1 meter is about a yard, and centimeters are really close to inches. So kilometers are the only thing that are about the same size as the mile. Which measurement represents a length shorter than 5 centimeters? Which measurement represents a length shorter than 5 centimeters? So we're not looking for something that's the closest. We're looking for something that's shorter. Now, centimeters. I know that 1 inch is equal to 2.5 centimeters. So if I have that part memorized, then I can kind of double the 2.5, and half and a half make 1, and 2 and 2 make 4, and 4 plus 1 is 5. So we double that side and we get 5 centimeters, and we know that 2 inches would be equal to 5 centimeters. Well, down here it says 3 inches, and I know 3 inches is bigger than 2 inches, so C is too big. I know that 1 foot is equal to 12 inches, which is way bigger than 2 inches, so A is not a good answer choice either. If I'm looking at kilometers, I know that that's about miles, and inches and centimeters, you're measuring that with a ruler. Kilometers and miles are big. That's how much you measure roads, distances between cities. So the only one that really makes sense here is 4 millimeters, and I think that's really small. But if I look at this, I know that we have meters, decimeters, centimeters, millimeters, and each one separated by groups of 10. So if I have 1 centimeter, I know I have 10 millimeters. Well, if I multiply that by 5, I know that I would have 5 centimeters would be equal to 50 millimeters. So 4 millimeters is definitely much smaller than 50 millimeters, and that's what we want. Answer choice D is shorter than 5 centimeters. Malika wants to mail her 11-kilogram package. What is the best estimate of the pound scale at the post office? Will show as the weight of Malika's package. So I want to know 11 kilograms. And down here it's saying pounds. So I know that 1 kilogram is equal to about 2 pounds. So 11 times the 1 kilogram would give us 11 kilograms. And if we multiply the other side by 11, we see that that's equal to 22 pounds. So I know that 11 kilograms is about 22 pounds, or answer choice D. Which of the following statements is true? Weight is the amount of matter in an object. Well, no, your weight can change. The mass is the amount of matter in an object, so B is not correct. The mass of an object depends on the gravitational pull. No, that's your weight. So the weight of an object depends on your gravitational pull, because you'll have a different weight on the moon than you do on Earth, because that's comparing, because it's thinking about the gravitational pull is stronger on Earth. D is saying the weight of an object changes based on its location. And that makes sense, because there's a different gravitational pull on Earth when you're on Earth than when you're in outer space. So that looks good so far. And this is saying weight and mass are always the same value. Well, mass doesn't change because that's how much matter or stuff that something's made of. And the weight changes based on your gravitational pull or based on the location. So it's answer choice D. If Patty's bedroom temperature is about 71 degrees Fahrenheit, what is the closest estimate to the temperature in degrees Celsius? So we're looking at 0 degrees Celsius all the way to 100 degrees Celsius. We have freezing and boiling. So we know it's not going to be 220 degrees Celsius because that's going to be hotter than boiling. And 71 degrees Celsius, that's getting pretty close to a boiling temperature as well. I know that Fahrenheit and Celsius aren't exactly the same. So answer choice B doesn't really make much sense either. So I know 32 degrees Fahrenheit is freezing and 212 degrees Fahrenheit is boiling. And 70 degrees Fahrenheit is kind of in the middle, but closer to 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's kind of close, it's going to be closer than that halfway point. So 71 degrees Celsius is kind of closer to 100 degrees Celsius to boiling. And we see that 20 degrees Celsius makes the most sense. And you can kind of think about it as 0, 20, 40, and then jumps all the way up to 100 degrees for boiling. I know that 1 inch is about 2.5 centimeters, so I know that's bigger than 1 centimeter. I know that 4 feet is about 1 yard and 1 foot. So it's a little over a yard, and each yard is about the same as 1 meter. So 7 meters is definitely going to be bigger than something that's only about a yard. Well, I know that 0 degrees Celsius is freezing point for water, and so is 32 degrees Fahrenheit. We know that 100 degrees Celsius is the boiling point for water, and 212 degrees is the boiling point for Fahrenheit. So 50 degrees Celsius is smack dab in the middle of the freezing and boiling points. And I kind of want to see what's in the middle of the freezing and boiling points for Fahrenheit. So if I try to find the difference between those two amounts, see 2 minus 2 is 0, 11 minus 3 is 8, and 1 minus 0 is 1. So I see a difference of 180 degrees from 32 degrees Fahrenheit all the way to 212. So if I divide that into two groups, I get 90 degrees. So if I take 32 degrees Fahrenheit and I add 90 degrees, I actually get 122 degrees Fahrenheit. And if I add 90 more, I get 212 degrees Fahrenheit. So the middle point for Fahrenheit in between freezing and boiling points would be 122 degrees Fahrenheit. And that would be about equal to 50 degrees Celsius. So I know 50 degrees Celsius is in the middle, and that's equal to about 122 degrees Fahrenheit. So I know 50 degrees Celsius is actually much hotter than 81 degrees Fahrenheit. Here we know that 1 kilogram is about equal to 2 pounds. So if I multiply this side by 5, I'll get 5 kilograms, but do that's the same on the other side, and I get 5 groups of the 2 pounds would give me 10 pounds. So 5 kilograms is about 10 pounds. And 20 pounds is much bigger than 10 pounds. So we see that 5 kilograms is less than 20 pounds. Here, I know that 2 liters is about equal to 2 quarts. And for gallons, I know that 4 quarts make 1 gallon. So 3 gallons means that I would have 3 of those. So I would actually have 12 quarts for that, for those 3 gallons. And 12 quarts is a whole heck of a lot bigger than 2 quarts. For this last one, I'm going to remember that 1 kilogram is about equal to 2 pounds. So if I divide that into 2 groups, I can see that each group would get 1 pound. But if I divide 1 by 2, I get that you have half of a kilogram, or 0.5. And I know that 0.5 is bigger than 0.5.